takes on the green jersey of Eric van der Orden. So Le Mans is looking now to finish this tour on the highest possible note, but he's taking with him across the sacred cobbles of the Place de la Concorde the green jersey of Eric van der Orden, and van der Orden will be very, very pleased to be in such a good position here now. They'll see the finishing banner. They've left Greg LeMond, the yellow jersey, bang on the front. He's got to lead out the whole of the Tour de France in first place now, and van der Orden will be very pleased about that, but he's been washed away. Van der Orden has missed a move on the other side here. Jeff Leakens, it looks, too, with Guido Bontempi. Guido Bontempi and Frank Hoston too. Bontempi into the front now, van der Orden, and on the inside of van der Orden, and Bontempi gets it.
From the Champs-Élysées in Paris to the A169 just south of Pickering in North Yorkshire. Hello and welcome to Calendar Summer Sport. Yes, from the world's greatest cycle race to the Scarborough Paragon Club's 10-mile time trial. Of course, many of the world's great bike riders have spent the past few weeks snaking through France to Paris, but probably the most remarkable cyclist of all is right here. It's more than 30 years since Beryl Burton first pedalled against the clock. Bobby Charlton was a boot boy at Old Trafford. Jeff Boycott was a schoolboy. Not one of our great middle-distance trio, Ovett, Coe and Cram, had been born.
You only ever see one view of her, and that's a rear view. She goes by.
Amazing, so you can say about it.
Once you've been champion once, it gets even harder to become champion a second time. Everybody's out to beat you. But to stay there for as long as she has, amazing.
Fantastic. Not another lady like her ever will be, ever again. Marvellous.
She's a one-off, isn't she? Really, there's been nobody like her, and I can't see anybody. There's nobody else, is there, Pete, really? You can't match against anybody.
Well, Beryl is not only still competing, she's still winning. And Mrs. Burton OBE, multiple world champion on the road, on the track and against the clock, is still fiercely ambitious. Hard to believe, but she's 50 next year and hopes to celebrate by riding in the Tour de France now that they've opened the doors to girls, and the year after will be going flat out to become an Olympian. Now, there are many who would dismiss those ambitions as no more than dreams, but the story of Beryl Burton's career on wheels, and it does encompass 4 decades, is almost exclusively about dreams being realised, often against the odds.
At the start of the women's amateur road race, 33 miles of hard riding lay ahead of the international field. In the first few miles, Britain's Beryl Burton and Russia's Zadoros Neyer had separated from the rest of the field. Beryl Burton had set a scorching pace. It wasn't long before she left the Russian trailing and rode for 21 miles with nothing in front of her but the finishing line. A tremendous win meant a gold medal for Beryl and Britain.
Today, Beryl Burton lives in a first-floor town flat near the centre of Harrogate. Not that she's often at home to answer the bell. She's either training, racing, or in the village of Flaxby near Knaresborough, fruit picking. After 4 decades of receiving applause and cheers, why does this legend spend so much time and energy gathering raspberries?
It's not hard work. It's not strenuous hard work, it's just being flexible, really. It's been bending and stretching all day long, which is, for me, for the bike game, it's good. I always find when I come here that when I'm racing and I get down on the drops on the handlebars, I find it easier when I've been working here all day, bending over. I seem a lot more supple than before. I think it's just the continual bending as you go along picking the fruit.
So it's a form of training in a way?
Well, not really. I don't like to think it's a form of training.
Well, why do you do it?
Because I enjoy it. I enjoy being outside.
Yeah.
When I used to work full-time a few years ago on the rhubarb farm, I liked that because that was mainly out, well, winter work as well, but I prefer to be outside. I don't know, I think I've got a bit of gypsy in me, really. I'd stay out 24 hours a day if you allowed me.
Beryl is no legend. She's an ordinary Yorkshire lass and a wonderful person. She's part of our family. Beryl doesn't have a boss. She works for herself. She's not only good at picking raspberries, she's good at also growing them. This is her baby, really, and she looks after it all the year round.
I'm not a person that can spend time doing nothing. I feel I have to be doing something all the time. It perhaps comes from when I first got married and I worked full-time then for quite a lot of years, because I had to. We needed the money for travelling about, and it's got so that I just can't rest unless I'm doing something. I feel that I've got to be doing something all the time.
Well, that need for perpetual motion, as the world knows, found a truly fruitful outlet on a bike.
I got a job at Beryl Burton's in the office there, and Charles worked there, and I had no idea about cycling other than I used to have a sit-up and beg bike to go. I had a little Sunday job at the time that I used to go to on this sit-up and beg, and that was it as far as cycling was concerned. But he was the cyclist. I'd started swimming. In fact, I'd just started competitive swimming, and I really enjoyed it, but he didn't like water. So I think someone had pushed him in as a child, and he was really frightened of water. He's still not over keen on it now. And I sort of took a fancy to him, and he offered to loan me a bike to go cycling, and that was it. That's how it started.
Well, thanks to a fella.
Yes, yeah.
A very special fella.
Yes, it's a wonderful sport.
I thought you... Because you've been very ill, hadn't you, as a little girl?
When I was 12, well, 11, yes, I was in hospital a couple of years. I was in hospital 9 months, actually. I was away from school 2 years. And I was one of those children that enjoyed school. I really did. And I used to hate holidays. I really enjoyed school. And I had a nervous breakdown. Well, I had a child complaint called chorea, which is a nervous breakdown, St. Vitus dances rheumatics altogether. It's got called chorea. I was in St. James's 9 months. I always remember when I came out, because the doctor said I had to take it very, very steady. And when I went for that, for an interview for the job at Beryl Burton's, we had to go for a medical too. Yeah. And the doctor said to me, he'd read all the history, and he said, oh, well, you won't do any sport at all, will you? And I said, well, actually, I do a little bit of cycling. He said, oh, eyebrows went up to the ceiling sort of thing. Oh, he said, well, he said, take it very steady. He said, do you get out of breath at all? I said, well, occasionally. He said, well, if the hills get too hard, he says, you must get off and walk. He says, I'm sure the boys will wait for you. Because it's always been a laugh with us, like, ever since as that.
We just thought the best in the club, and then possibly the best in Yorkshire, and then, all right, the best in Britain, and then it suddenly turned out to be the best in the world. And we just thought that it would be just a short period. Normally, an athlete's over by the time they're about 30 and finished. And she's gone on another 20 years, virtually.
We used to run evening time trials on the Wakefield-Bradford Road, and I used to say to me, you want to ride, you know, on Wednesday night? I said, oh, no, I'm not really fast enough. I'm not good enough to ride. To race, not to race. Oh, you'll do well. And I started riding the evening 10s, as we called them then. They were 10-mile time trials. I think for the first one, I did something like about 33 minutes, which is terribly slow. So I wasn't a natural to start with, as everybody thinks. Because it's always the same with sport. And in other sports, people, sort of, if you get a name, people only get to know your name as you get to the top, and they think that you've become a natural. They don't realise that you've spent years and years getting there from nothing.
I tell you what, once having got there, you've stayed there, haven't you?
Yes, I'd certainly got the bit between my teeth. But I think it would have been, if I'd have taken any other sport, I think I would have been the same. I was a very competitive person as a child. Not with anyone, just with myself. If I was playing ball or anything like that, it was a competition. I used to set myself targets to do things, throwing the ball up to the wall. When I used to play with two, you know, you had to do it 20 times sort of thing. And if I dropped it at 19, I would get so frustrated, I'd pick the ball up and bite it with anger. And I think that's where the competitiveness is. I think it's bred in you. I don't think it's something that's I don't think it's something that's put into you. I think it's there. It has to be brought out if you are to show any bit of competitiveness. But as far back as I can remember, I had it. And it wasn't with another person, it was just with myself and whatever I was doing. Knitting or playing ball or shaking the rug or anything.
Looking after us.
Yes. It comes out in all forms. It's there.
Well, almost time to see if it's there today, that competitive instinct that's helped compile the longest and most impressive winning streak in sport. There are 88 riders here today, setting off at 1-minute intervals. Ahead of each of them, 5 miles of tarmac, almost to Malton, and then the 5 miles back.
I don't think it matters what type of event it is, whether it's a club event or a World Championship, I still get exactly the same. I'm quite nervous before an event. I'm usually not very talkative, I just go very quiet. It's part of it, I think. I think once you stop being nervous, I think the competitiveness will go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Nothing that this lady does on 2 wheels should ever surprise anyone. 19 years ago, Beryl created a very special niche for herself in the history of the sport when she became the only woman to smash a men's record. In 12 hours, she pedalled 277.25 miles. She remains the only female to ride 100 miles in less than 4 hours. At the other end of the distance scale, she was the first to dip under 4 minutes for the 3,000 metres. Last month, Mrs. Burton won for the umpteenth time the national 25-mile time trial. A couple of weeks ago, she added the 50-mile title, again.
Oh, she's a tremendous rider. A credit to the sport, really. Tremendous.
She seems to put as much effort into these sort of club events as she does national championships.
That's right, yeah. She's a good representative of the sport. Yeah. I'm pleased she rode, you know. I think she attracts a good following wherever she goes.
Rumour has it that you're the leading lady and therefore I think are going to win, is it £3?
I don't know, I haven't looked. I'll take your word for it.
Beryl's not the only Burton to win prizes. Her daughter Denise, brought up in the saddle, or very nearly, has grown up to be a champion herself. Like mother, like daughter. It must be amazing for you, Charlie, in a way that, I mean, the other week, the 50-mile championship, you know, Beryl Burton wins it, Denise Burton second, the first human being's about 4 minutes back.
Yes, it was really gratifying, because you have to be careful with the children, that if you push them too early and too hard, a lot of them just rebel and don't come in, so it was really nice that we got the family going like that.
Might we spend most of the time shouting at one another.
Well, I mean, it's good that as well as your legs and your heart and your lungs, she's obviously inherited your competitive instincts
Yes,
as well.
Yes, very competitive, yeah.
For Mum, there have been hundreds of great victories, but it's typical of Beryl that she recalls most readily not the big headline wins, but moments that were, well, unusual.
I can't remember the country, but I know I'd gone back to the hotel with the other English girl and we were just sat down ready to tuck into a nice piece of steak, our evening meal. And I'd just got my knife and fork into mine, actually, and the team manager came rushing up and says, "Don't eat your dinner, don't eat your dinner. You've got to be on in an hour's time on the track." And they brought all the track forward because we'd had some rain, so they had to alter all the timing of the meeting. So I got him to put this piece of steak in the polythene bag. I wasn't going to miss my meal. And we dashed down to the track with a car with a siren going on the top so that we could get there, because if you didn't arrive in time, that was it. You wouldn't have another chance of riding. And then there's the other times when there's one in particular, I had an accident on the track training, and I rode the final with my hand strapped onto the handlebars because I'd had to have a painkilling injection in my hand, and I couldn't feel my hand actually gripping, and it used to just fall off, so I had to strap my hand onto the handlebars so that it didn't fall off while I was actually competing.
Now that strikes me as sort of a measure of your, I don't know, dedication.
Well, if you
commitment.
didn't,
does it you?
You lost your chance for the ride. You see, if you didn't do it, if I wasn't going to win, It wasn't because I hadn't tried, even whatever cropped up. I think that's the main thing in competition. I think when you're in competition, if you're ill or you have an injury or anything, to me, I just compete the same and I do the best under the circumstances. And I feel better. Even if I've been beaten, I've done my best under the circumstances. But I couldn't not go and compete and think, well, I'm not very well or anything like that. It doesn't satisfy me at all.
Having said that, I mean, you've won more than you've been beaten, haven't you?
Yes, there is that. Yes, definitely.
Do you enjoy winning?
Yes, I do. Not when I'm actually on the bike and I'm striving to win. Not now. I think, God, what on earth am I doing here? Why am I doing this? And yet with bits between my teeth and my eyeballs are hanging over the front wheel and I'm really giving it 100%. And yet I think, why can't I just go home and be like other people and go out for the day in the car up the Dales or something like that?
I mean, you know why you do it, and people that know you know why you do it. But, I mean, a lot of people must say, why does she still do it? I mean, for 25 years you've been the top British lady cyclist and you've won the world titles in all the different phases of the sport. Yeah. I mean, what is it that keeps you going?
Well, you've got this will to win, this determination to be number one, and you don't know when it will go out. I mean, I may have it for another 20 years.
Why not?
But whatever that's there, you've got to. You haven't got to. I just still enjoy doing it. And that's it.
Your good lady wife always insists that her success is not due to any sort of God-given talents. It's down to hard work and dedication and training and commitment. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that one.
We tend to disagree quite a bit on this, in that I agree that she has put lots of effort into it and she's polished herself up, and yes, you know, it is a great stress, but with the initial equipment that you're issued with whenever you go pick them up, I think that Beryl shopped at Harrods and I shopped at Woolworths.
Last year, Beryl took her body from Harrods along to the Human Performance Laboratory at Leeds Polytechnic's Carnegie School to be assessed by Dr. John Humphreys and his team.
At the time, I'd got this idea I would like to ride the Tour de France, and I thought, well, if I go and get this complete medical and I'm past day one, they can't say, well, you're too old or you're deteriorating or one thing and another, you see. And when I went for it, I went on the bike and I got there and I was quite nervous because underneath I kept thinking, well, what on earth if I find something out, that's wrong with me? What shall I do? And I went and had this and I was over the moon with the result. When people say to you, well, you're equivalent to a 20-year-old male student as far as physical and strength and everything else, it takes a little bit of swallowing. Although you like to think you're as good as what you were when you were young, when they've done it medically and it's there in black and white and they've actually done it, it still takes a little bit of sinking in. But I was very pleased with the results. And one of the things that I was very surprised with too was they check you for fat tissues and everything. And he couldn't even start to take a reading because I hadn't got anything to start to take a reading from. He showed me some pictures of a marathon runner on the wall and I thought she looked like a skeleton, but he said she had some measurable fat on. And the other thing which quite shook him was the oxygen I take in, the amount of use that my body makes of it. And he said, you're perfectly fit to ride the Tour de France. If I was chosen to go, there's no medical reason at all.
Her rivals had known that for years, so why hasn't one of them emerged to challenge her?
It's a $50,000 question, isn't it? I don't know, I can't understand why there hasn't, because I felt if they train and like I did and did what I did, if somebody had to follow me around, another figure at the back of me and did what I did all the time, I can't believe that they wouldn't do what I can do in racing, in competition.
People must have looked at you and followed you and copied you, and they still can't beat you.
I don't think they quite do the same as regards mileage-wise for training.
As far as the domestic scheme, that is, as far as England goes, possibly she could keep going for 10 years, heaven forbid. And now she's set her sights on, she'd love to try for the Olympics. It was too early for women to be in the Olympics when she started. And now they've let them in and they're talking about team time trial.
Back end of last season and most of this season, had one of those little avocets which records what mile per hour you're doing when you're training. And I go along with this avocet on the handlebars and sometimes I'm quite staggered how fast I am going in training and I think, well, this is nearly racing speed. And yet I'm not using racing gears, I'm just using training gears, and it quite staggers me how fast you can get training. And I've got to the point where I think, well, I'm wondering whether I'm training too fast, to be quite honest.
Going back to that. Yeah, and when you finish all these many miles of training, I'm told, and I want to know if it's true, that for pleasure, you go out for spins on the bike?
Yes, I
hills.
do. I'm very, very lucky from the point that I can switch off mentally from competition and pleasure riding. And people can't believe me, because sometimes in winter, especially when I've stopped training after a wind down of about 3 weeks after the racing season, I go out on the bike and really I may only be doing about between 1 and 2 miles an hour slower than when I'm training, but mentally I'm switched off completely from competition at all, and I'm just drifting along as far as I'm concerned. And they go, I saw you out last week training. I go, no, you didn't. I was just going up to see so-and-so to Catterick or something like that. And I wasn't. And mentally I was switched off completely. But there we are. Maybe it is a natural ability.
I would have thought then that attitude and that natural ability and that mental application is going to take you to achieve these new targets you want, wouldn't you? I mean, 88 Olympics, you think you'll make it?
I shall accept the challenge, yes, definitely. I shan't be satisfied if I don't. I can't possibly be satisfied, because time trialling is right up my street. It's my forte, as they say. And if I don't succeed, I've tried and I've done my best. I shall be more satisfied than not trying. I couldn't not try.
That, in a way, is what you're all about, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is, yeah. Yes, you're quite right there. You've got me to a T, haven't you?